Hi, welcome in everybody. So thank you all so much for joining us for the third and final session of our three-part webinar series, Culturally Responsive Family Engagement for Afghan Refugee Families. And I know for one, I am very sad that this is our final session. I've been really engaged and learning a lot these last few weeks, and loving the learning and discussion that we've all been engaging in. And so thank you so much to Child Trends and especially to Yosemary and Cassidy, our illustrious presenters, and all of the guests that they have so thoughtfully incorporated into this work from HISPA and from FACE, and a few family members that were able to come and join us today. So I will not delay any further. Just want to remind you about the session evaluation link that I will share at the end. If you're applying for Act 48, you'll first fill out the evaluation, and then it'll take you to the Act 48 application as well. And as this is our final session, we encourage you to ask some questions and really engage with one another, and especially with our Child Trends experts and colleagues. So either out loud or in the chat, this is our final session. And so if you have lingering questions, please feel free to ask one another and ask our colleagues at Child Trends. So thank you again for joining us, and please keep an eye out for future opportunities. So take it away, Yosemary and Cassidy.
Great. Thank you, Megan. Hello, everyone. If you joined us last week, as Megan said, welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to today's webinar, Evidence-Based Family Engagement. We are so excited you're able to join us today on Valentine's Day. So we're going to begin by introducing our facilitators for today. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Yosemary Rodriguez, and I am a senior research analyst at Child Trends, which is a nonprofit organization with a mission to improve the wellness of children and families throughout the nation. Now I'm going to pass it on to Cassidy to introduce herself.
Thank you, Yosemary. Hi, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Cassidy Gross, and I'm a policy analyst on the education team at Child Trends. And today we're also joined by our colleagues, Winnie Chan and Brandon Stratford, who you will meet during our breakout rooms a little bit later. Okay. Here are our group commitments for today. We've discussed these during previous sessions, so I'll just go over them pretty briefly. Number one, excuse me, getting my screen straight. Number one is to be present and participate as much as you're able to. We'll also be able to answer any questions at the end of our session today, like Megan said, so please stick around and feel free to drop things in the chat, come off mute as you're able. Definitely want to hear from all of you. Number two, please respect the diverse experiences and opinions of all of our group members. And just one more thing to note, just remember that this session is being recorded so that others can benefit from it in the future. So just keep that in mind when deciding what you'd like to share today. Okay, here are our session objectives. Number one, identify evidence-based tools and resources to support family engagement. And number two, identify a new strategy / practice to implement in your work with Afghan refugee families. Here is our agenda. We're going to start out with a quick icebreaker in just a minute to welcome everyone back, and then we'll move into an overview of the content that we covered during sessions 1 and 2 of this series. Yosemary is then going to take us through a few resources that we think might be beneficial to all of you in your work with Afghan refugee and newcomer families, and then we'll end today with a call to action and some group time before our closing out our session. Okay, and now for our icebreaker. So we'd love it if you could all take a moment to just pop into the chat with your name, your pronouns, your role, where you're located. I heard Kansas. I'm personally in DC. And then most importantly, what your biggest takeaway from the series is so far. And if this is your first time joining us, hi and welcome. What do you hope to take away from today's session? Hi, Robin. Hi, Alejandro. Hi, Kim. Nice to be all here with you all here today. Hi, Michelle. Luis. Joshua, hello. Martha, hello. April, hello. Hi, Jess. Hi, Clarissa, Lysandra, Medina. Oh, Virginia, hello. Another Virginia, hello. Love the Virginia representation. Sunny yet Philly, Harrisburg. Hey, you know, I'll take the sun. Anytime I don't have gray skies, I'm happy. Okay, well, thank you all. Thank you all for sharing. Good to see you all. Good to be in community with you all. We're excited to take some time to get to know you and get to chat later today. I'll just read this one last. Excited to reach out to family members after hearing about the practical ways we can do to best communicate with them and support their children. That was awesome to hear. Thank you for sharing. Joining for the first time today. Hi, Shelby. Welcome. And joining looking to learn more about resources. Andy, we got your back. I will not delay any more than we will go right into it. Very excited for that. Okay. All right, so before we really get in with the meat and potatoes of today's session, we wanted to review some of the things that we discussed during session 1 of 2, especially for those of you who weren't able to join or maybe just would need a quick refresher. As a reminder, both sessions were recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch the full session if you'd like to. Okay, so during our first session, we received an introduction from our colleagues at FACE to the Pennsylvania Family Engagement Birth Through College Career Community Ready Framework. We focused our session on the 6 learning community standards that you see here on the screen and some supporting practices for each of the standards that you could implement with the families and students you work with, which we'll go through in further detail in the next slides. I just want to note that a lot of the strategies that we're going to be going over can be tied back to more than one and often a few standards. I say this to emphasize that one action or initiative can have cascading benefits for families, so it might be intimidating to see all of this text on one screen, but know that many of the standards and strategies really do go hand in hand. Okay, here we have standards 1 and 2. Standard 1 is to connect families to resources in the community which support their needs, wants, and desires. Standard 2 is to build partnerships with families that are strengths-based, authentic, reciprocal, and respectful. These 2 standards sort of go hand in hand, as building trusting relationships is key to getting to know families and, importantly, understand what they need. Therefore, it's important to ask and not assume what families' needs are and ensure they're aware of available school and community-based supports. One suggestion to implement this standard that we heard from all of you during our first session were family liaisons. And their role is to welcome families upon their arrival into the school community, link them to information and resources, help families understand and acclimate to the new environment, and to be a support to them as they navigate the school. This is a great way to ensure refugee families feel welcome and can set the building blocks for a trusting partnership. You might also consider hosting an event where families are able to share about their culture, such as a family night or a Hello Neighbor night. We've consistently seen during our preparation for this series, as well as heard from all of you, that these events are often smash hits and are very successful at helping to engage families. Alternatively, you could create a class map with your students and have it displayed during parent-teacher conferences. And of course, when planning any event, try to take into account any barriers that might limit parents from attending, such as employment or family obligations or lack of access to transportation. For example, language barriers could be addressed by ensuring live interpretation and translation services in classrooms or at events. This also might be a good time to note that co-creating these spaces and events with parents is always preferred and can help you mitigate some of those barriers in attendance. Okay, here we have standards 3 and 4. Standard 3 reads, partner with families to identify information, resources, and strategies to support them in their roles as teachers, models, encouragers, monitors, and leaders. Again, it's important to ask families what they need, but it's also possible to anticipate what those needs might be, right? For example, any new student or parent will need orientation materials, including classroom schedules, maps, codes of conduct, etc. Not only is it important to have this information readily available, but also to encourage or to ensure that it is translated into the family's preferred language. Consider having the parent and student welcome kits which contain this information. Furthermore, encourage parents to ask questions and be curious about their child's education. Empower families with the knowledge and skills they need to support their children's academic success. Standard 4 is to provide intentional opportunities for families to connect with each other. Helping newcomer families lay their roots down and make connections within the community is key. Fostering relationships between refugee and newcomer families may provide a rare source of support, comfort, and connection. Creating culturally responsive opportunities for families to connect and engage requires a deep understanding and appreciation for diversity. To do this, consider the following strategies: understanding the cultural diversity within families, incorporating diverse perspectives, seeking input from families, creating safe and inclusive environments, providing culturally relevant strategies, supporting bilingual and multilingual communication, and providing ongoing support and resources for these learning communities. All right, and finally, we have standards 5 and 6. Standard 5 is to support families as they develop their leadership and advocacy skills. As we've hopefully emphasized, ensuring parents feel like a stakeholder in their children's education is critical, but that may be a new or different role for some Afghan newcomer and refugee families. To help them, encourage parents to ask questions. And one example that we came across during our preparation for this series sort of described a parent advisory group as a means to help families and parents develop their leadership abilities. This particular advisory group was really able to successfully recruit refugee families and parents by providing recruitment materials that were available in multiple languages and able to reach these individuals. And as our last standard reads, build partnerships with families during times of transition. Of course, entering a new school community and a new country is a massive transition that no one person could be prepared for. Therefore, feel comfortable to reach out to community-based organizations that are dedicated to working with newcomers to help supplement school-based supports. Likewise, providing supports like we talked about earlier in Standard 4, such as parent cafes, can help parents to connect with one another on similar issues or challenges that they might be facing. Okay, and now we'll move on to the content from our second session. During this session, we heard from 2 Afghan moms, Sakina and Elham, who have recently resettled in the United States, to hear about their experiences with the US education system. On the screen, you'll see a summary of both our panel discussion as well as information we gleaned from the audience Q&A. And I'll now take some time to go over what we talked about. Now, first, this might sound obvious, but parents have varied hopes and aspirations for their children's educations. Our moms shared that they hope their children can move on to and graduate from higher education, join the medical field, and generally be good people. But it's important to remember that their opinions are not necessarily representative of all Afghan parents, and that all parents have different goals for their child. They also shared that in their experience, the US education system differs from that in Afghanistan in a few ways. Notably, they noted that it was a change to have teachers and staff interested in getting to know them and their child. This is another reminder not to be discouraged if a parent responds coolly to engagement efforts at first. It might just be that this is a new and different dynamic for them. Taking the time to learn about them, learn about their children and their experiences is a great way to help build that relationship. Furthermore, perceptions of school and teacher support for families was positive. Our moms shared that they generally had good experiences so far and were happy with the supports available from their schools. The moms also spoke highly of the communication that they had with the school. In particular, they mentioned Class Dojo as a major highlight. For those who might not know, Class Dojo is an app that allows communication between teachers, students, and parents. Apps like these can be very useful when in-person translation isn't available. Social media, text, and email communication are also very helpful as well, though. Sakina and Elham also expressed appreciation for the open door approaches at their schools. They expressed that they felt very welcome, and it seems like they have a very open line of communication with the school and with their children's teachers. When asked about interest in ESL classes, Sakina and Elham shared that they would like to see English classes offered to their children, but they also shared that they themselves are interested in learning English. One of the moms, however, did note that she was unable to participate due to childcare obligations. Therefore, it's important to make sure that these opportunities are accessible options that are given during different times of the day, offered virtually, etc., to make sure that it's accessible to a wide range of parents. Okay. And our colleagues at HISPA, Parisa and Parveen, also shared some of their knowledge and expertise coming from a resettlement agency that frequently works with Afghan refugee families. A lot of this will probably sound familiar at this point, so I will try to move through it quickly. Practicing patience and understanding is key. As we discussed, disconnects do happen between parent and schools may perceive a parent's lack of engagement or shyness as disinterest, when in reality, it might just be that the parent is wanting to respect the teacher and the school's authority, or maybe feeling intimidated. Regardless, it's important to continue to keep parents up to date and encourage their participation and inclusion. Remember that everything is different and new. Specifically, Parisa called out evaluation processes for students with disabilities, which might be new and require more explanation for parents. Leverage parent expertise to act as a cultural broker. Building strong relationships with parents can mean even stronger relationships with students and other families. So don't be afraid to learn as much as you can and leverage that knowledge to enhance the support that you give. Communication in DARE or PASCO is always the goal. Of course, this might be a bit redundant, but language and communication barriers can often halt a lot of otherwise helpful work and useful information from reaching families. Inform parents of the benefits of family engagement and out-of-school activities. For the reasons we listed above, engagement might be new to some parents, so it's important to explain the benefits and utility of parent engagement for both the parent and the student to get further parent buy-in and support. Advocate for education at the primary, secondary, and advanced levels. Teresa also talked about emphasizing the importance of continued education, but that parents might need help in finding the right information and understanding what resources, for example, FAFSA, might be out there. And don't hesitate to reach out for more support. As I'm sure you've heard many times now, and I know you will continue to hear today, there are a plethora of resources, organizations, and folks out there who are ready to support you. No one can do it alone, so don't be afraid to reach out for more information or help. And now I'm going to pass the mic back over to Rosemary, who's going to take us through some of these resources that we're talking about and tools that we think will be very helpful to you in your family engagement efforts.
Great. Thank you so much, Cassidy, for providing us with that review of session 1 and session 2. So as Cassidy noted, there are many resources and tools to support you with family engagement. So in this session, we really wanted to highlight a few of them that have been helpful to us as we continue to develop our expertise of family engagement of Afghan refugee or newcomer families. Today, we're going to highlight just 3 of those resources. Please note that the inclusion of these resources and example is not intended to reflect their importance, nor is it intended to endorse any views expressed or products or services offered. Next slide. Great. So the first resource that we want to talk to you about today is the Newcomer Toolkit. So the Newcomer Toolkit, developed at the U.S. Department of Education, is designed to help elementary and secondary teachers, principals, and other staff who work directly with immigrant students, including asylees and refugees and their families. The toolkit includes 5 chapters, focusing on topics such as who are newcomers, welcoming newcomers to a safe, inclusive, and thriving school environment, supporting newcomers' social and emotional and mental health needs, providing high-quality instruction for newcomers, and establishing partnerships with families. Each chapter in this toolkit includes a discussion of topics relevant to understanding, supporting, and engaging newcomer students and their families or guardians, tools, research-based strategies, and examples of classroom and school-wide practices in action, chapter-specific professional learning activities for use in staff meetings or professional learning communities, and selected resources for further information and assistance. Next slide. So there are many chapters in the toolkit, as I mentioned, but in alignment with the series on family engagement, Chapter 5, Establishing Partnerships with Families, may be the most relevant for you all. So in this chapter, you're going to find ways to facilitate newcomer family engagement at their schools, tools and approaches for establishing successful partnership with newcomer families, and professional development tools for increasing your staff's capacity to communicate with and empower newcomer families. So in this slide, there are screenshots of things that you may find helpful in this chapter. These screenshots provide examples of classroom, school, and district practices in action. So as educators, it is very helpful knowing what others are doing and what is working for them. And these sections provide just that. They are good resources to provide you with some ideas to try something new or modify something that you are already doing. So for example, the screenshot on the left provides examples of adjustments made at 3 middle schools by teachers and staff that resulted in improved school-family partnerships and increased engagement of newcomer families, such as changing open house to a diversity night where families were invited to share about their cultures. The screenshot on the right provides examples of approaches that schools, districts, and communities have taken to engage newcomer families, such as creating an ethnically diverse parent advisory board to provide a forum for family concerns and engage families in decision making. Next slide. So in this chapter, you're also going to find an assessment tool, which you can see a screenshot of on the slide. The purpose of this assessment tool is really just to help your team build a common understanding of the core components of strong family engagement programs for newcomers and reflect on your practices related to each component. So essentially, are your current practices attending to these components or are they not? And if they're not, what can you do to begin addressing that? So in this tool, the three components of strong family engagement are academic success, advocacy and decision making, and awareness and use of resources. And the tool definitely goes into detail on what each of these components entail. In handout A, which is the screenshot on the left, it provides specific practices for each component to better know what it entails so that you can assess what practices are happening or not happening in your school or program. So for instance, for academic success, that involves things like strong collaboration between teachers and families. You would ask yourself, is this happening or not happening in my setting? For advocacy and decision making, that involves things like families as thought partners for district and school improvement. And for awareness and use of resources, that involves things like academic and non-academic opportunities for children beyond the school day. Then the screenshot on the right side, so handout B, is the planning tool where your team can plan ways to address engagement of newcomer families based on your findings from handout A. So it provides guiding questions so that you can develop a thoughtful family engagement plan, such as what will be the focus of the engagement activities to address these components? What is the expected impact of these activities and how will it be measured? The tool is intended to be completed within a group, but even if that's not possible, the guiding questions are great for individual reflection and planning. Next slide. So the second resource is the Supporting Afghan Students in School and Youth Programs in the United States Toolkit. So developed by Switchboard, this toolkit is designed to help educators to develop a well-rounded understanding of the circumstances of newly arrived Afghan students and their families, including the challenges that they may face as they seek to adapt to the American education system, better understand the Afghan educational systems and possible educational experiences of students, name core considerations for working with Afghan students and their families, adopt skills and strategies that may be helpful in working with Afghan students and families, and access information and resources to support your work. Next slide. And once again, this toolkit covers a range of information, but in alignment with the series on family engagement, the sections on approaches to welcome and support Afghan students and considerations for working with Afghan students and families may be the most relevant. So in the approaches to welcome and support Afghan students section, you will find actionable guidance on creating a welcoming, inclusive, culturally and linguistically responsive, and healing environments for Afghan and other students who have experienced forced migration. So for example, there is a subsection focused on building rapport and trusting relationship with students and families. It provides helpful materials to orient families to schools in the US, such as a list of questions that Afghan families may have about school that you may consider answering in your orientation documents. So you'll see that in the screenshot on the left, some of those questions are there, such as how does the school schedule work? What type of participation is expected in different classes? What is required to move on to the next grade? There's also a checklist in that section, which is the screenshot on the right, with various strategies that may be adapted for your school or program context to help Afghan students and families succeed. This includes things like making interpretation readily available, partnering with Afghan community organizations or volunteers, and facilitating activities for the entire family to promote engagement and relationship building between families and school staff. Next slide. In the considerations for working with Afghan students and family sections, you will find things to consider about Afghan students and families, such as the uniqueness and strengths that they bring to your community, as well as the experiences, some of them which may be traumatic, that they may have had gone through. In this section, you will also find some sample scripts that may be used to engage with family members. Again, this should be adapted for your school or program context. They provide an excellent starting point. And finally, the third resource is Welcoming, Registering, and Supporting Newcomer Students, a toolkit for educators of immigrant and refugee students in secondary schools. So this was developed by the Regional Education Laboratory Northwest for the Institute of Education Sciences, so IES. And this resource toolkit is intended to help educators and other stakeholders identify and use research-based strategies, practices, policies, and procedures for welcoming, registering, and supporting newcomer immigrant and refugee students who are attending secondary school. So that is grades 6 through 12. The toolkit is divided into 4 areas that include multiple links to resources such as welcoming, registering, and supporting immigrant and refugee students, as well as building educators' capacity to support them. In alignment with the series on family engagement, the first section of this toolkit, welcome and engage newcomer, immigrant, and refugee students and families, may be the most relevant. So in this section, you will find information related to welcoming newcomer students and families, such as tips for creating a welcoming environment, information related to orienting newcomer students and families with links to resources for providing a clear and comprehensive orientation, such as examples of parent and newcomer handbooks that you may adapt, and a range of resources with strategies for supporting families' access to schools and educators, and seeking family input to inform student placement, instruction goals, and trajectories. Okay, so that was a lot of talking from our side, but we wanted to make sure that if this is the only session that you are able to attend or watch, that you can walk away with a concrete list of strategies, tools, and resources that you can use in your work with Afghan refugee or newcomer families, or just families in general. As we mentioned earlier, there are a lot of resources out there on family engagement, and we just highlighted 3 that have been really helpful to Cassie and myself. Because many of you are working directly with students and families, we also wanted to give you an opportunity to share your knowledge. So at this time, we are going to put a link to a Jamboard in the chat where you can add a sticky note with any resources that have helped you with family engagement. This can be things like toolkits, reports, webinars, organizations, websites, and so on that you think others may benefit from knowing about. It does not have to be resources specifically for engaging Afghan refugee families, though those are very helpful. And you're also more than welcome to include them in the chat or come off mute to share. And just briefly, next slide. For those of you that haven't used Jamboard before, it is an app that functions sort of like a whiteboard and lets you leave comments anonymously. So to add a sticky to a board, you go ahead and hit that 4th icon down on your left, and the sticky note should pop up. And then once you've typed your thought, you go ahead and hit save and drag your sticky note wherever you like. So we're just going to take a few minutes to kind of just let you think of all of those amazing resources that have supported you with family engagement, and we'll continue on in a second. So I see already in the Jamboard, Colorín Colorado has bilingual tools for teachers and parents. Thank you for sharing that. Ooh, okay, let's see. Highest PA offers parent and family programs throughout the year for Afghan refugee families, including a back to school event. Okay. Fortunately, I have a supportive PTA. We developed an immigrant family committee to help welcome families. It has worked with mixed success, though. Okay. Local libraries are helpful for ESL programs. Absolutely. Somebody put in a site, smore.com. It's a great site to make newsletters to share with families. It is fun and user-friendly. Thank you for sharing that. The Maryland PA State Family Engagement Center. I'm loving all of these resources. And I know that Megan put some of the links, the newcomer toolkit, in the chat. Interpretation services, Class Dojo, a district refugee toolkit, the welcome wagon for support classes. Okay. Somebody said connecting with resettlement agencies is a great way for schools to work with refugee youth and families. Absolutely. And I know last week we heard from Highest PA, so they are an excellent resource. FACE as well, when you're thinking about family engagement, is also an excellent resource. And both are located in Pennsylvania. Okay. So holding a multicultural night has been helpful with family engagement. Absolutely. We've heard a lot about these events that bring families together as being successful. Okay, I'm going to give you about 1 more minute, and obviously this is going to remain open and you can add in your thoughts as you think of them. But this is just an excellent place for, once again, to come back and, if you need additional resources, it's a great way to just pull out some names as needed. Pennsylvania Furniture Mission. Whoever put on that sticky note, would you mind explaining a little bit more what that is, the PA Furniture Mission?
It was me. I actually just discovered them in thinking about the Refugee Ed Summit, hoping to invite them. So they partner with a few organizations, but ultimately they collect furniture, like unused furniture, furniture that folks are replacing with new furniture and trying to get rid of whatever furniture they have, and they deliver it to refugee families in PA who are just kind of getting started and um, need some furniture. I think it's one of the biggest needs and one of the most expensive things that folks might need to fill their homes with, and so that's what they offer.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. In the interest of time, we are going to go ahead and move on, but feel free, as I said, the Jamboard is going to continue to be open so that you can continue to share the resources that have been helpful for you when it comes to family engagement. Okay. So we are now going to transition to our next activity for today. Let me just get my screens together. There we go. Which is something that we are calling a call to action. So throughout this series, we have been sharing a lot of information with you, a range of strategies and practices that you may choose to implement when working with Afghan refugee families or families in general. As educators and professionals, we know that you have a lot going on throughout the day, which sometimes makes it difficult to find the time to really think through what you learned in these series and how to implement it with the students and families that you work with. So this activity, while brief, is an opportunity for you to just get started. Slide. So for this activity, we're going to divide into 4 breakout rooms. So all rooms will be talking about the same thing. And let me just see, we have about 43 people. Okay. So based on how many people are in the room, I'd say let's go ahead and try to cap the rooms at like 6 or 7 people per room. So if you see that room, a room that is one of the options has like 6 or 7 people, just feel free to join another room that may have less people so that we can like be evenly split. In your breakout rooms, you're going to spend about 5 minutes or so individually reflecting and responding to the prompt. What new strategy or practice can I use when working with Afghan refugee or newcomer families? And as you reflect and respond to the prompt, consider the following 2 guiding questions. So when could this strategy or practice be implemented? So is this something that you can implement tomorrow, next week, next month? And what would it take to implement this strategy or practice? So here we're really asking you to consider the resources that you may need to make this happen. Is it money? Is it a community organization that you need to partner with? Is it expertise from parents and staff? Is it just time to plan? At the end of those 5 minutes or so, your breakout room facilitator will invite you to share what you came up with. Then we'll come back to the whole group. And if we have some time, we'll invite a few volunteers to share so that we can hear what was discussed across the different rooms. So we'll spend about 20 minutes or so in the breakout room so that you really have time to share and learn from each other. So it is 3:35 right now. So we will come back at about 3:55. So Michael, if you are able to bring us back at around 3:55, that will be great. And I guess if you can just open the breakout rooms, or if they're open, I don't know. There we go. And we will see you at 3:55. Okay. I need to get my slides together. 1 second. That's the downside of having too many screens. I can't keep up. Okay. So welcome back, everyone. I hope your conversations were as engaging as mine was. I heard some amazing ideas that people are, thinking about, were inspired to, start doing because of what they learned in the series. There were some connections happening based on ideas that people offered, so that we're not reinventing the wheel, because a lot of these things are already happening. So that's why, we really wanted to provide you with a space to just connect with each other, learn from each other, and just be inspired by each other. So it is 3:55, and I know that we heard some amazing things across the room. So I do want to give just a few minutes, an opportunity to just hear a little bit of what was discussed across the breakout room. So I know what I heard in my room, but there's other conversations happening. So if anyone wants to come off mute and share what they shared or an idea that they heard in the room that was like fantastic and they were inspired and maybe they want to try it, I'd love to hear that. So we'll just give this about a few minutes. If you want to come off mute, you're more than welcome to just talk a little bit about that.
I can share, if that's okay with everybody. I had attended, and Megan is smiling because I just attended a pre-parent cafe session very recently, learning about the idea of a parent cafe, and it sounds super cool. Basically, the school staff gets trained to, have parents come together and talk about things that they're going through and kind of, there's all kinds of steps to the process of doing a parent cafe, and it's multiple sessions and all of the things. But just the idea of having a safe space for families to come together and talk about their experiences and what they're going through, and for the school team to be supportive of that. So when one of my colleagues and I attended the session and we learned about it, we're like, okay, let's do this. This sounds awesome and such a great, just a great opportunity to have parents be engaged and for the school to support them. So that's my sharing. Thank you.
Allison, could you share a couple of the kind of logistical things that need to get put in place that you had shared in terms of like you had to get training and thinking about childcare, stuff like that?
Sure. So thank you, Megan. So yes, so some logistical things that we need to think about. We have parents with young children to have childcare built in somehow. So I need to have that be straight away, make sure that the parents are available when we schedule the parent cafes, of course, obviously. Transportation is an issue. So as part of the RC grant, I had purchased Uber gift cards for the family. So we'll just encourage them to use their gift cards to get to the schools. And, other logistics like food, making sure that, if they have any food allergies or food preferences, or, if they happen to be fasting or celebrating or any of those things, that I'm just mindful of those needs as well. So, yeah, I don't know what else I shared that I should share, but yes.
I think it's just nice to remind people of those like nitty-gritty things of how to make it actually happen. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing, Allison. Anyone else that would like to share something that you heard, a great idea, or something that you heard and you were inspired and now you're like, ooh, I may want to try that?
I will share out from what folks share from group 1.
Yeah.
Really exciting ideas. Someone from group 1, a participant, said that she learned about multicultural night from attending the sessions and really looking forward to implementing that next year. So super excited. And another participant shared that, I think we all talked about this a lot, relationship building, treating folks as if they're coming to your home, put in that level of care and respect and kindness to working with and meeting with the families we serve. Mileage reimbursement, like Brandon and Allison just share, transportation often is a challenge for the families we work with, really making it as accessible as possible, serving families before the planning starts, so that we can find out, what are their preferences for food, for transportation, for timing, what resources they would like to learn more about, so that we can provide relevant and responsive services and resources to the families. Something that I thought was super smart and great resource is hospital, because from the survey, one of the participants learned that the families that she works with are really interested in learning more about nutrition. And then so her and her team reached out to a local hospital that has community outreach program. And they invited the hospital community outreach program to come to their family night to share about nutrition, eating, and healthy diet. Amazing idea. So I thought, this is really a good piece of information that other folks may find helpful. And also, if possible, finding bilingual and bicultural presenters, because as we know, sometimes things get lost in translation. And also seeing someone who look like you, who understand where you come from to talk about an issue that you care about also makes a difference. So that's what we talked about in group 1. Anyone from group 1, if I missed anything, forgot anything, please chime in.
I love the idea that you had shared with allowing the families to share their specialties. Some of these parents have come here and they're very well educated and professionals, and maybe they could share some of their expertise with the other families, or other families could reach out to them if they need help with something.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. I do want to build on that, what you just shared of the, families sharing expertise with each other. Like, they are the experts, they are the ones that know best. So really, in my group, a lot of the biggest theme that I saw was really this wanting to connect families with each other. What are they learning from each other, and how can if there's a resource available, how can we make sure that that family learns that from the other family. And one of the ideas that someone had proposed was really doing sort of like a mentoring program for newcomers. And someone in our group actually said that at their organization or the place of work, they do something similar to that. So they have a non-school based mentoring program for newcomers. So that was a connection that occurred. And I just thought that was wonderful. And a connection that, they were willing to connect with each other and learn more about that. So I don't know if you're able to see it in the chat, but Jess, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that you shared your information in case they wanted more information. So just wanted to put the plug in there because I thought it was an amazing opportunity to make available for those who were interested in making connections among families.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to anyone who's interested, and I just put my email in the chat again.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and keep on moving this. So I am going to go ahead and pass it on to Cassidy, who is going to wrap us up for today.
Thank you, Yosemary. So as Yosemary said, as we wrap up today, we're actually going to make a return to our personal commitments, which you might remember if you've attended some of the previous sessions. So you should see a link for the Jamboard entering the chat now. So this is a different Jamboard than the one we were just working on. At this time, we'd like you to think about what is one thing that you plan to do differently in your work with Afghan refugee families as a result of this series. Obviously, we've gone over a lot of examples. We just shared a ton. It was great to hear about all of those during our time together. And we hope that the act of you sharing your commitment will not only help motivate you, but that your ideas might spark possibilities for others. So that link will be coming in. Perfect. Thank you, Yosemary. And I'll give everyone just a little bit to fill that out. Take a minute, think about what you'd like to carry on, what you would like to change moving forward, or what you plan to do differently. Okay, I see some coming in. I plan to do more questioning and listening to get to know more about the needs of families rather than just sharing information. Yeah, I love that. I think really engaging in a two-way dialogue, asking a lot of questions, being really curious, and again, encouraging that curiosity right on back is a really great strategy to really help get to know families, help them feel welcome, and help them feel, really a part of the community. So That's great. Be more parent and family centered. Consider what they need more of and less of what the school needs from them. I'd like to encourage more connection between families and also local resources by planning a back to school outreach event this fall. Yes. Hearing lots of love for the events, which I think is great. Someone in my group also said they want to spend more money on events and experiences as opposed to just information, which I think is great. Ensure the school provides an inclusive environment for all students and families, especially with the literature, art, and content learned. Yes, absolutely. Diversity within curriculum is super important and really beneficial to all students, not just refugee students, of course. Ensure my therapy office is a welcoming, safe, inclusive, and open space for both Afghan youth and their family members. Love that. That's awesome. Really great to hear. Thank you all. These are really great, very thoughtful. Appreciate that.
Cassidy, I do see a response on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Recruiting additional staff that has a close connection to the refugee community.
Absolutely. I think we can speak from our experience and that has been very helpful. Working with Highest PA has been very helpful. So love that idea, can endorse it myself. Awesome. Thank you all. And again, this Jamboard will continue to stay open. It'll also be sent out after the fact. So feel free to keep putting your thoughts in. I'll give us just a few more seconds if anyone has anything additional they'd like to share. I also invite everyone to come off mute if they'd like, but no pressure to do so. Okay, great. I'll move us on to the next slide. Get my screens all ready. Okay, so on this slide, you're going to see even more resources, which will hopefully come in handy as you continue your learning journey. So just a reminder, the slides will be distributed, so you will have access to all of the hyperlinks, so you don't have to worry about anything quite right now. The first 3 links on here are webinars that include information to support your work with newcomer students and families, such as creating a welcoming environment, involving parents in their children's education, and being aware of mental health concerns. The last 2 are websites that provide recommendations on how schools can effectively partner with Afghan refugee families, including lessons learned from schools already partnering with the community. Okay. And here, if you have any follow-up questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our emails are listed right here. And you can also scan the QR code to the right for some more information about Child Trends, including some of our work and research, which we hope that you'll find useful. And then finally, I just want to thank everyone for their time today and throughout this series. It really has been such a privilege to get to speak with you all and work with you all and learn with you all. Yosemary and myself are both really grateful for the opportunity and thankful for your time. We hope that you're leaving this series feeling equipped and empowered to support Afghan refugee students in your work, whatever that may be. And thank you again just for your time, dedication, engagement in these sessions. Thank you for coming on Valentine's Day. Thank you also to the Center for Schools and Communities for facilitating this series for us. It has been such a joy to work with you all. So thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day. And Megan, I'll kick it back to you.
Thank you, Cassidy. Thank you, everyone, for attending this 3-part series. I know I learned a lot, and thank you, Yosemary. Thank you, Cassidy. Thank you, Winnie, and thank you, Brandon, and our partners at Child Trends for putting on this really amazing 3-part series for us. I know it was highly attended and highly appreciated by all of us. So thank you again. I'll be reaching out with another link for the eval and the Act 48 if you're having similar issues to some folks in applying for the Act 48. So I'll just send that to everybody who attended. So thank you all again and have a great rest of your week.